Hello, internet world. We are starting something new.
Woo!
Yes. This is our.
I'm gonna drink from Kent's. You don't even have coffee in here.
It's a prop. It's just a prop. We're doing something special. This is the West Bradenton special summer series content.
Fantastic.
And we have no idea what we're doing, but we're going to try.
Which camera do we look at?
It's either one. Either one. There's two cameras and people. Just don't stare off into space. You'll look like a worship pastor. So we do have our worship pastor, Jordan, and our student pastor, Kent, with us.
Hey.
Part of what we're going to do in this series is just to talk about our church covenant. And the first part of our church covenant is worship. I love your definition of worship. What is your definition of worship?
Worship is saying yes to God. Whatever it is that he's asking you to do.
And part of the way that we do worship is we expect a response from our people.
Yes.
Every week, God's telling you something. What is that? Go do it.
That's right.
And so we do worship at West Bradenton with the idea that it leads to action.
Yep.
And that part of that action is just saying yes to God. So rather than just talk about boring theological stuff, which you would love to do.
I would love to do. That's my preference. I love boring theological stuff.
We decided in this series, as we talk about our covenant, to do some rather controversial takes.
Let's poke the bear.
Real talk and hot takes. That's what we're.
That's right.
That's what we're.
I got the
calling it.
hottest take.
Okay. Well, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Should the church use smoke in worship?
Well, I think we all know the answer to that. And I just so happen to have brought a smoke machine, which I'm just going to aim at you. So, should we use smoke in worship? What do you think, Sam?
This stuff stinks.
I,
so
for one,
bad.
feel a lot more comfortable now that there's
Should we?
a little bit of haze in the room.
It looks like we're smoking cigars.
That's not a bad idea.
No, it would be better than the smoke machine.
Okay.
Hey, my first church.
Yeah.
My first church. 6 people, way out in rural Kentucky.
Just going to leave this here.
We had is it going to go off?
Like, on its own? No,
Yeah.
I have to push You want to push the button?
Let me see the
I
button.
kind of want to push this thing.
There you go.
Oh.
So, it's
Oh. Oh my goodness. That's
I feel like
significant.
I can. This is conducive to
This
worship.
is
right
worship.
absolutely. So my first church, my first church, 6 people, rural Kentucky. We had a smoke machine.
Oh, is that right?
Surprising. Interesting.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't touch it.
So his name was Herbie,
Okay.
and he smoked marbles in the back of the church.
Nice.
And I just bring him back. So many
His
He's
name
doing
memories.
it on its own now.
So Jordan, I know that you would like to have some haze, some vibiness, some experiential sort of smoke in our worship experience. Although we
would.
don't typically do that. Why do we not do that?
Well, technically, it's because we have laser smoke detectors because we have an older building, so we don't have sprinklers. So it's more sensitive to smoke. But maybe it's important to understand, like, why do smoke at all? And
Walk us through that.
well, there's only one reason to do it. So if you have
So that
lights,
the lasers look cooler.
The
So
lasers look cooler.
yeah, so if you're using lights that have beams, the smoke is actually there to break up the light and to, my goodness, it smells like vanilla
No, it does not smell like vanilla.
or
It smells
Swisher
like-
Sweets.
It smells.
I don't know.
It smells like allergies, is what it smells like.
I can't see the
House
camera
mixed
anymore.
with allergies.
Can you still see us? So anyway, the smoke breaks up light so that you can see it, because otherwise it's just going to hit the wall. So it's purely meant for aesthetics, which
Okay.
I think is actually something really important to think about when it comes to what it is that we're actually trying to do with aesthetics. So if you think about what the great European cathedrals would do.
It reminds me of flatulence.
Samuel Solomon Rayner III. My goodness,
It's
we
hard-
are
why did I
just.
do
So
that
you're-
right at myself?
You're
don't even know.
talking. You're talking about cathedrals, and I'm talking about flatulence. But
Well,
I
but okay. So if you think about the way that these cathedrals were built, they were meant to be imposing. They're extremely tall, and they were meant to lift up your attention and to get you outside of the normalcy of your life. And if you look at the the rose windows. They were meant to be colorful and to tell stories, and they were meant to exalt your senses.
Am I high now?
You might be,
Okay.
which is
I don't do drugs, so I wouldn't know.
well,
You might be.
he might be. And so anyway, this is basically like the modern version, and its beauty's in the eye of the beholder. But this would be like a modern take on what worshipers for thousands of years have tried to do, which is to elevate the senses and to take us out of normalcy and to focus on God.
No, I do agree with you. I am not opposed to any sort of aesthetics, whether it be smoke or stained glass, in
Right.
worship, because it's aesthetics.
Right.
The question is, does it help you worship?
Well, because I think that there's a lot of times where we will lean on this as though the technology is what's necessary in order to help people worship, and that's not the case. And so kind of a reaction to that has been to not use technology and to not consider aesthetics, which I think is it's a wrong reaction. But the real question is, can we as leaders assist in the worship experience of the people, and do little puffs of smoke help with that?
Or is there a point even where, so if the question is, does smoke help us worship? Could you flip that question on its head at the same time and say, is there a point at which smoke hinders worship?
Yeah. Well, I think
No,
just,
I still remember.
No, this isn't distracting at all. This
Not
is
even
the
a little
least
bit.
distracting thing that you can do in worship.
I remember being a part of a church plant, and I was on stage on a platform playing the guitar, and this was happening, and I just remember being so distracted.
you're breathing.
I felt
you're
I
not
felt
distracting
like
me at
this.
all.
I felt exactly the way that I feel right now. Is there a point where aesthetics contribute to the showiness of church rather than what?
So just like anything, the music, like having music at a certain volume is amoral. It's not like volume is not wrong or right.
Right.
You can be too loud. You can have certain points of the mix that are too loud or too soft. So my personal feeling is that absolutely, like this is purposely distracting us, but would a little bit if the intent with the lighting was to be an accent. Yeah, I think that'd be great, but definitely you can go overboard.
But
Fair.
people do get a little worked up over smoke in worship. One, for those of us who have allergies or sensitive noses, it is irritating.
Is this bothering you right now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah, absolutely.
It is?
Yeah. I should not. I should have said no.
Oh no!
Did it break?
We overused it.
Oh, we've already broken it. So,
Have to let it warm up again.
but people used to. So when Protestant churches started using choir robes,
It was meant to be modest.
well, no, it was when we started using them, people thought this is very distracting, and
Hey,
actually,
I'll one up
and
that.
actually rather Catholic.
They
why are we
used
doing
to
that?
put the organist and the choir in the back of the room so that they wouldn't even be seen.
Choir used to be in the back of the room,
Yeah.
so that they wouldn't be seen. And then when that change was made to move up, there were a lot of people that did not like it. Choir robes, believe it or not, was just as controversial as smoke. Your timing is impeccable.
Thank you.
So my point in all of that is that we're always, whatever the aesthetic is, whether it be stained glass, choir robes, or smoke, at different times in church history, they've all been controversial.
Right.
And it does just get back to an issue of the heart. At the end of the day.
It does make me wonder though, because obviously this is a modern invention, and stained glass is an ancient
Sure.
invention. So do we have a responsibility as church leaders, because we live in the most modern era that we've ever lived in? Do we have a responsibility to, at least in large part, to lean modern?
Yes, you do, because we live in that time now. There is nothing wrong with stained glass. We have stained glass in our church. I
Yep.
love it. And
Yep.
if it were to ever need work, we would do the work.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, we would do the work to keep it. But the original purpose of stained glass was what?
Well,
To communicate the story of the Bible.
both a story and also because I mean, if you think about it,
Well, people were
The
illiterate.
story and the aesthetic as well.
Yeah, the
Yeah, and-
aesthetic pointed people to the story. So the reason stained glass was originally invented is because the vast majority of society at the time was illiterate. And that was the way that the church leaders could communicate the stories of the Bible. So the aesthetic, the invention was there to point people back to the Word of God. And in today's world, whether it be lights or smoke or, color schemes or whatever it may be, I think that it should point you back to God. And I'm not quite sure that we're doing that right now.
I know. I feel like we're being sacrilegious here, but I do think about Isaiah 6, I believe Revelation 4. So like when the presence of God.
Smoke.
Yes. Yeah, the Shekinah glory, there were flashes of lightning. So at best, I think that when we try to use modern technology to imitate that, we can at least give a little bit of a hint of what kind of an otherworldly experience it was like.
But that's purposeful.
It's purposeful, and yes, it can be overdone, and it can be done in an inartful, non-beautiful way. But I would like to think that as worship leaders and as church leaders are putting this together, that is the intent.
My favorite thing is when you're in a really small room and you try to do the smoke, and somebody's like preaching, and it's like, psst.
Yeah, and you can hear it.
You can hear it.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Okay, so
there's so many ways to do things wrong, So when you see it done well, it's really refreshing and uplifting.
All right, guys, we've got a lot more coming this summer. This is the first Real Talk and Hot Takes.
The hottest take.
Next episode, we're going to be talking about church hopping, why it's bad for the soul. This has been bad for my lungs, but next week we're going to be talking about what's bad.
Don't vape, kids.
For that stuff. I'm going to sound like an old curmudgeonly grandpa. Don't do that.
Might be.
Yeah, that stuff's awful for you. Anyway, and we're not vaping right now.
Nope.
Not at all. All right.
We're worshiping.
I feel like I'm in the presence of the Lord. We've got more coming this summer. I hope you enjoy this special series. Again, my name is Sam. I'm the lead pastor here at West Bradenton. We've got Pastor Jordan, Pastor Kent with us. Hey, give us a thumbs up and
smash that subscribe button.
Yeah, please subscribe to the channel.
Ring that bell.
And if you're interested, if you're in the Bradenton area, we're westbwstb.org. Come check us out. And like I said, we've got more coming. Worship, what really is important, worship is saying yes to God.
Whatever God's telling you to do it.
Amen.
Go do it. We'll see you in the next episode.